Good day, everyone, and welcome to the pop culture news here on The Experience. Lots of big things are happening, so we're going to jump right in and just nail through it. So, first, there's been a lot of rumors going around about the upcoming Superman film, with the latest being that Ultraman from Earth 3, the Earth 3 version of Superman, who is more of a villain than a hero, will appear in the film, and that David Corenswet will be playing both Superman and Ultraman. Now, writer-director of the film James Gunn has once again come out to kind of disabuse these rumors. And what he says is the primary protagonist of Superman is, shockingly, Superman. The main villain of Superman is, shockingly, Lex Luthor. I don't know where all this stuff is coming from, that it's something other than this. There are so many stories coming out every day, it's difficult to deal with. And every time I strike something down, I'm giving it attention. So I'll say again, don't believe anything unless you see it here. And why would you want to know everything before the movie comes out anyway? Now, this was posted a couple days ago, and some of the responses are pretty amazing. Most people are pointing out he didn't say that Ultraman wasn't in the movie. He said that Lex Luthor was the main protagonist or antagonist. And then in the past, Gunn says he would lie about, or he wouldn't lie unless it was to keep some surprises for the fans when the movie comes out. So the problem is with this is that the rumors either spoil the upcoming film or it sets fans' expectations in the wrong direction, leading to potential disappointment. Also, scoopers can get clicks, but it's pretty crazy that James Gunn has to keep coming out and making these comments and stuff. So I think he should stop. I think he shouldn't bother. It doesn't do any good to just say, no, that's not true, because they're going to find a ways around it. And the scoopers will just come back and say, well, that was the original plan, but they changed. So no one ever takes responsibility for when they're wrong. All right, moving on. Now, we got to know this guy in Stranger Things, but now Joseph Quinn is going to be joining the MCU as Johnny Storm, a.k.a. the Human Torch, in the upcoming Fantastic Four film that we know is being directed by WandaVision's Matt Shakman. Now, Quinn was interviewed at a convention recently where he was asked about the project and said, I'm really excited. I still can't believe it. It's crazy. We have a great group. When I spoke to Matt, the director, he had a brilliant vision for this. And the group we have, it was an easy decision. I definitely wanted to be part of it. And then he was asked what he's doing to prepare for the role. And Quinn joked, I'll be setting myself on fire. Don't do this at home, kids. This is how we ended up with Herbie the Robot. All right, let's move on to the next one. Fans of the rebooted Quantum Leap series, it's done. After 2 seasons, NBC has called it quit, though you can't really call it a reboot. It's more of a continuation of the original series from the 90s. It goes forward with the idea that Sam Beckett is still out there, that the same people were involved. This is like a continuation of the project, and that they would eventually try to find Sam. But looks like that's not going to happen. They're not going to get a chance to reverse one of the saddest moments in television history, when the screen popped up at the end of the final episode of the original Quantum Leap saying Sam never made it back home. Well, it turns out Sam still is never going to make it back home. So, no more Quantum Leap. All right, moving on. A few months back, writer J. Michael Straczynski had to clear up rumors that the potential reboot of series Babylon 5 was dead. He came out and said, no, it wasn't. Well, it really wasn't. And things seem to be kind of moving forward again, as Straczynski shared in an update talking to Inverse.com. He said, it's just been a matter of time and obstacles. We were going to go with CW originally, then Warner got it back. Then we were going to take it out to the market, but the Discovery purchase happened, and That put us on ice for a while. Then, okay, that got all cleared up. And then the strike hits. After that, right as they were literally preparing to send it out the door, the rumors about a merger between Warner and Paramount happened. So finally, it went out to buyers about 2 weeks ago. We're waiting for word from those who have been sent the pilot script. One has said no, but the rest are still in process. There is interest in the rest from the rest of them, so we will see where this goes. Now, originally, Babylon 5 ran from 93 to 98 and focused on the lives of the people based on the titular 5-mile-long space station during a 5-year period. It ran 5 years and ended, but he's looking to start it up again. And I know there's a lot of fans out there who would like to see that happen. All right, moving on. One of the upcoming Star Wars movies is set 25,000 years before anything else we've seen in the Star Wars franchise before. Now, that is tentatively titled Dawn of the Jedi, and this is the movie from James Mangold, who, of course, did Logan and a bunch of other great movies. Well, joining Mangold will be, as the screenwriter for the project, will be a writer from Andor, Beau Willimon. Now, Beau specifically wrote 3 episodes of the Diego Luna series, but the one in particular that everybody kind of touts for him is One Way Out. That was the episode that that had Andy Serkis and them trying to escape. I won't say any more in case you haven't seen it, but that was a huge episode that a lot of people were hit hard by. Now, the project was originally announced almost a year ago back at Star Wars Celebration in London and said to focus on the very origins of the Force. Now, at the time, Mangold said the project said specifically, when I first started talking to Kathleen Kennedy about doing one of these pictures, what occurred to me was thinking about what kind of genre of movie within Star Wars I wanted to do. And I thought about a biblical epic like 10 Commandments, about the dawning of the Force. Where did the Force come from? When did we discover it? When did we learn how to use it? Now, while there is no release date for the film, it's believed that Mangold will begin working on this right after he completes a movie called A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan biopic that stars Timothée Chalamet. Now, besides his work on Andor, Willimon also worked on the political thriller House of Cards, also The Ides of March, another political thriller, and he created the Hulu series The First, which is a space drama. Now, according to the official Star Wars timeline, if you're kind of curious about how this is going on, the birth of the Jedi is said to have taken place about 25,000 BBY, or before the Battle of Yavin. That's the event in the first Star Wars movie, or A New Hope. And that's how they tell time in the Star Wars universe, is based off the Battle of Yavin, years before and years after. Now, it seems to be where the story will take place is 25,000 years ago, which is still a long time before the High Republic, which is the newer stuff that they've been doing in the novels and the comics, and will be the Acolyte, which takes place at 500 BBY. So this is still 24,500 years before the Acolyte series is going to be. So, all right, moving on. It seems that the reworking of Daredevil Born Again has kind of given Marvel an odd opportunity to undo a recasting. Originally, when Born Again was moving forward, Ayelet Zurer, who originally played Vanessa, wasn't available to reprise the role. So she was replaced by Sandrine Holt from Better Call Saul. But after the writer's strike ended and Marvel decided to kind of clean house in the project, do a bunch of rewrites, bring in some new directors, the whole thing. Well, one of the things that they were able to do is to bring Zurer back to the original role. So, and we found this out because there's some set photos that posted on Instagram by Steve Sands that shows Zurer being filmed alongside Vincent D'Onofrio as playing Wilson Fisk. Now, that's not the only thing the refocusing has allowed. one of the big things that people were complaining about, because there was no returning of Karen Page and Foggy Nelson. But since then, since the rejiggering of the whole thing, both Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson have been seen on set and working. So it looks like they're moving back towards the Netflix series as much as possible. So D'Onofrio's back, Charlie Cox is back, John Bernthal's back. We'll just have to see how many more of the people come back, including I'm hoping Turk makes it back. Turk was awesome and appeared in all the Netflix series. Also Rosario Dawson, like to see her come back. So we'll have to see how all of that works out and what this means for the other Netflix series moving forward. Moving on, reports are now saying that Marvel Studios is considering making some animated films geared towards theatrical release. Now, previously, they focused on the live-action movies being the only movies, and the animated stuff would stay on Disney+. But with the success of those animated series, this seems to be changing. Now, the question is this a good idea? Can they really make money doing this? If they do a Pixar-level animation, which you think they'd want to do, and even the stuff they're doing now with What If, they're spending a good amount of money on an episode. Well, a Pixar movie runs anywhere between 150 and 200 million, which is pretty close to what they spend on live action stuff. So I don't see what the advantage is for doing an animated series unless you're doing something that is really cosmic, or where you've got a bunch of characters that have to be CGI, or you're delving into an area with characters that you can't bring back. You can't bring back Robert Downey Jr., well, we'll get to that in a minute, but Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, if you want to bring those characters back and they don't want to return, you can then put them in with a different voice actor, like they do in the What If series on some of them. So, but again, I don't necessarily see what the advantage is to doing them. All right, moving on, staying with Marvel, sort of. About 3 months ago, we saw the conviction on reckless assault and harassment charges for Jonathan Majors. Well, he was sentenced this week by a New York judge to participate in a domestic violence treatment program. Now, this 1-year in-person batterers intervention program will be in LA, where Majors is based. And this is really interesting because he's getting no jail time. He's just being put in this program. And now Majors could face up to a year in jail. He could have faced up to a year in jail for the 2 misdemeanor counts, but they went with the program, the counseling. But the judge did put a permanent order of protection against any contact whatsoever with Grace Jabari, the woman he was accused of harassing. And he's supposed to stay in the therapy through the whole thing. Now, also, he can't apply for or own a gun, and any violations of the sentencing terms could result in Majors being put behind bars for 364 days. And if Majors does not complete the intervention program, he could also face 6 months in jail. So technically, he could go back to working as an actor. If anybody will hire him, that remains to be seen. Okay, moving on. Speaking of Robert Downey Jr. and returning as Iron Man, would he return? That's the question. Would Robert Downey Jr. return to the role of Tony Stark Iron Man? And a few months ago, Kevin Feige made it seem like this ain't going to happen. He told Vanity Fair back then, "We're going to keep that moment and not touch that moment again. We all worked very hard for many years to get to that, and we would never want to magically undo it in any way." Now, that said, RDJ spoke to Esquire recently, and when asked if he would be willing to return to the MCU, he said, "Happily. It's too integral a part of my DNA. The role chose me, and look, I always say, never, ever bet against Kevin Feige. It's a losing bet. He's the house. he always wins. So basically, if Kevin changes his mind and decides he wants Iron Man back, Robert Downey Jr. will definitely take the call. All right, guys, that's the news for now. Thank you for tuning in. And remember to stick around later today. We got Minute to Skim It if you want to get an idea of what the new books are coming out this week. Mint Hunter, get your key issues you've been missing. Or hang out with Henri tonight with Kicking It with Henri. Great stuff lined up here on The Experience. I'll be back on Thursday with a closer look at Shala Ball and the reports that she's going to be the Silver Surfer, that Julie Gardner's going to play her. Just kind of how does that work with what we know about the Fantastic Four so far. So join me on Thursday and stick around for the other great shows here on The Experience. Take care.